Video on the clans, and not just the clans of the tribes, but how that's going to impact our lives, because it will have an impact on our lives. And one of the things that I think happens whenever you're trying to do a quick teaching or something is you kind of forget about how you came to a point. You know, if you've done something 500 times, you can just be rather quick about things. And so I was a lawyer, a retired lawyer, and so I have that background, and so I can see certain things from a legal standpoint, and I don't go back to explain how and why. And so that's why I'm really doing this video, giving more of an explanation into the background. And so if you saw the first video on this, I've actually went back and deleted it simply because I didn't fill in the legalism aspects of really testate law. You know, any lawyer who's dealt with wills and estates, when he sees the clans, he's going to see how you deal with wills and estates. And so it's just kind of a natural thought process of how it goes through. Now, to most who are trying to read Numbers 26, it's going to get really confusing because you see these subsets, and the subsets throw you off. I'm going to make that real easy, hopefully, in this video so you can see how and why. And I can even explain why these things happen, because I see it, or I saw it through my career. And basically, once you kind of have that understanding of how and why and what's going on, you can see that. And probably the easiest way of dealing with that is when we look at the tribe of Ephraim. Now, in Ephraim, there are 3 clans, and I'm going to go back and do these things individually, and so I'll mention Ephraim again. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of why I say these things. You have 3 clans. You have the Shuthelamite, the Becherite, and the Taanite. But then you see the Shuthelamite has one called an Aaronite, and you're saying, that doesn't make sense. Why would you just have the same clan listed and do a different way? Because the Shuthelamite had died when the clans were divided. So through the vision, there were 3 that should have been. Okay? So let's assume that you die and you have 3 sons. And let's assume you're 100 years old and your sons should be around between 60 to 70. Should be a little higher than that, but we'll say 60 to 70. And you've got all these grandkids running around. But you only have the 3 sons, and we'll say, for purposes, just for argument, that you're not dividing things up to daughters. So you just have the 3 sons. And so you have son A, B, and C, and you give them all equally. Let's just say you have just $100. So each of them gets $33.33. Now the problem is son B has died. But son B has another son, which is grandson E. And so should E get the $33.33 of his father? And the answer is yes. So that's where that goes. Let's assume that son B had 3 sons. And so there'll be E, F, and G. So A, B, C should all divide equally, but B doesn't exist anymore because he died. And so it goes to E, F, and G, so each of those should get roughly $11.11, right? So because we take the $33.33 for the one son, but he's dead, so we divide that equally between his 3 sons. And when you see that, you can understand how Numbers 26 and the clans play out. Now, when I say this is going to have a bearing on our future life, remember, we're going to be going back to the kingdom, and we're going to divide up the land according to Ezekiel 48. and we will divide up our tribal lands according to the clans. So let's assume that you are in the tribe of Ephraim. And again, because we just went over it, so you have the 3 clans, but one of them died. So we will have the exact same thing. There will be 3 clans of Ephraim. And so when you get your revelation stone, the white stone with your name and your information on it, it should have your clan and your tribe name on there. And Ephraim's probably a bad example of this, but actually, let's use Asher as an example of dividing up the land, because it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, Asher, just an example, and I'm going to hit this again, has 3 clans under it: the Imnite, Ishvite, and Berite. But Beriah had died, so he had 2 sons. So you have 2 sons from him. So A, B, and C. It comes down, and C has 2 sons. So each of them get 1/2. So the Herberites and the Malchielites. And so each of them get 1/2. So when Asher is divided up, they divide it into 3 equal portions, which they divide by lot. And whoever the tribe of the Berelites would be, again, remember the 2, which will be Heberites and Malchielites, they take that portion, which is 1/3 of the total of Asher, and they then break that up into 2. So each of them get 1/2 of the 33 1/3 of the land. So let's kind of walk these through, because what I haven't dealt with is the clans of Manasseh, because they are by far the most difficult of these. So let's kind of hit them individually. Reuben has 4 clans, so very simple. No one had died, so those sons equally divided. So we have the Hanakites, the Paulites, Hezronite, and Carmite. So if you are in the tribe of Reuben, you divide it up in 4 equal spots. It's simple, it's easy, no big deal. Simeon, they have 5 clans: the Numalites, Jaminites, Jachanites, Zerahites, and Shawlites. Again, very easy. If you're in the tribe of Simeon, when you get your Ezekiel 48 land, you divide it into 5 equal portions. You figure out who gets what by lot, and you're there. It's really simple. Gad has 7 clans. So Gad is fighting with Manasseh for the most clans. And so those 7 clans are all equal. Nobody had died, so everybody gets the equal portion. Zephonite, Haggite, Shunite, Oznite, Arite, Aridite, and Arelite. 2 of them sound very similar, but that's how that is. The next tribe is Judah. Judah has 3 clans: the Shelonite, Perizzite, and Zerahite. But Perez, or for the Perizzites, had died when the division happened, and he had 2 sons, so you have 2 clans coming from him. So Hezronite and Hamalite. So Judah is just like Asher. They had 3, and then one of those died, and they had 2. So each of the clans there should get 1/3, but one of those has to be divided in half for that 1/3. Issachar, Toalite, Puite, Jashubite, Shimronite. Again, 4 clans, nobody died, real simple, divided up equally, 25%, cast your lots, boom, you're done. Zebulon, 3 clans, nobody died, real simple, you divided in equally, 1/3, Saradite, Elonite, and Jaelite. Now, Manasseh. If you are in the tribe of Manasseh, you will know more about intestacy law because it is all over the place. Okay? Manasseh had 1 son for the clan, which was a Machirite, but he died before everything was divided. So Machirite had 1 son, Gilead. Gilead had also died. And so it goes 1 and it goes over here. So now it's now to the grandsons, and Gilead had actually be the great-grandsons. So Gilead had a number of sons. He had 6. So you have, now we're going to actually get where we divide up things with Manasseh. We're going to divide it into 6 equal portions. From the Izarites, Helikite, Azraelite, Shechemite, Shemidite, and the Hephorite. So 6 equal portions. Great. Except for the fact that one of those also died and didn't even have any sons, so he had to divide it between his 5 daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Haglah, Miklah, and Tirzah. So if you are in the tribe of Manasseh, you're going to divide that land up into 6 equal portions, and whichever one would be from the tribe of the Hephorites, they will then divide it up into 5. So, whoosh. Now, remember, one of the issues here is if you are in one of these tribes. Let's assume that you are in the tribe of Noah, or sorry, clan of Noah. Now you've got a very small section of land because it's already, the land for Manasseh has already been divided in 6, and then yours has been further subdivided by 5. So you're very small. If you are in that tribe of Noah, or sorry, in that clan of Noah, which would actually be from the tribe of Hephorite, okay, and you only have daughters, then you have to actually remain, that daughter has to remain in the tribal, in that clan land. She has to marry somebody in your tribe and in your clan. And that's because otherwise the land would actually go to somebody outside, and you can't have that. So that's where that provision comes in. Again, it's just a legalistic principle because this land is going to be our land for 1,000 years, and you can't lose your tribal land or your clan land. It has to remain. So Ephraim, which we already discussed, 3 clans, very simple, divide up by 3, except for the fact one of those had died. But he only had 1 son, so it's really simple. So it's going to be 3 equal divisions. It's just which way you're going to name that last clan. Which will be the Shuthlahite, the Becherite, and Tahanite. But the Shuthalahites, he had died before the division was done, which left the Aaronite to take his portion of 1/3. Benjamin. Benjamin has a number of clans, which says 5, but one of those had also died, so his is divided into 2. So Benjamin is a Baaleite, Ashbaelite, Ahiramite, Shuphamite, and Huphamite. So when you get to your tribal land, you divide it in 5, but if you're from the tribe of Baalite, then you're actually dividing it into that portion, that 1/5. Or 20%, so it's going to be divided into 2, so Ardites and Naamites. So Ardite is going to have 10% of, the clan of the Ardite is going to have 10% of the land of the tribe of Benjamin. Naamite is going to have 10% of the land of Benjamin. But Ashbeelite will have 20%. Ahiramite will have 20%. Shuphamite will have 20%. And the Huphamite will have 20%. So I hope you see where these things come in. Now, if you're in the tribe of Dan, you can almost forget about intestacy laws because your thing is so simple. You have 1 clan, Shuhamite. So if you only have daughters, your daughters have a big choice to stay somewhat in the tribe and in the clan, because the clan is the entire tribe of Dan. So they have a lot of men to choose from. Whereas if you're in Manasseh or Gad, she doesn't have that many choices. So, just something to think about, especially if you're a woman. Asher, as I already mentioned before, Asher has 3 tribes, and one of those had died before the division, so that land gets divided in 2. So you have Imnite, Ishvite, and Berite. but Bera had died, so leaving Heberite and Malchielite. So each of those clans will get 1/3, except for the tribes from the Beralites, because that 1/3 is then further divided in half. What's that? 16 point something percent. Okay, whereas the other clans are getting, or the other clans in Asher are getting 33 1/3. Naphtali goes back to an easy one. He had 4, and so there are 4 clans. Nobody had died, so it's an equal division. Each clan in Naphtali is going to receive 25% of the land. They are the Jazerite, the Gunite, Jezerite, and Shilamite. Now, that hits that except for one small factor. We haven't talked about the Levites. Levites are an entirely separate entity, especially on the intestacy laws. And remember, we are not going to be in a democracy. We are in a monarchy. And this is really where things come to bear more than you see it for anywhere else with regards to a monarchy. Things are done by inheritance. And now we just described how the land is divided by inheritance. The Levites go even further than that, because we have 3 clans and then a subset and then a subset of a subset, which is way down the line. It's all over the place. So let's kind of describe it for a minute. We have 3 clans of the Levites: Gershonites, Kohath, and Merarites. And they are arranged around, when we have a tabernacle, they're arranged around the tabernacle, and each of them are given different jobs. The Gershonites are actually just further divided into 2, okay? So they have because they're 2 sons from the Gershonites, so that's the Libnites and the Shemites. So the job of the Gershonites, remember that when they do their tribal land, which we're going to have to get to because it's going to be all over the place for the Levites, the Gershonites are going to take their land, which is I don't even want to say 1/3, whatever portion that is, and the Gershonites will divide up that into 2. And so Libnites will have 1/2, and the Shemites will have the other half. Kohath had 4 sons: Amramites, Isharites, Hebronites, and Uzzielites. Okay, so again, we'll divide that up into 4. Merarites had 2, Maalites and Mushites. So we can see each of those 3 are further subdivided. Luckily, they're divided equally in 2 or 4. So the math is really easy. Now the problem is, we then have this really special class from Levi, and that's the sons of Aaron. Now the sons of Aaron, we had 2 that died by taking unauthorized fire to the tabernacle, and they had no sons, so they were eliminated. So the sons of Aaron were Eleazar and Ithamar. And through Eleazar went the lineage of the high priest, and realistically of the priest class. Now, that's kind of weird, because both of the sons of Aaron were priests. Eleazar and Ithamar were both priest class. Okay, so they could both do it, but the high priest had to come from Eleazar's line. And Phinehas came through, was the son of Eleazar. So Phinehas, after Eleazar, he would have been the next high priest. And it went down that line until we get to King Solomon. And in 1 Samuel 2:35, the Creator tells, this would have been to David, I pretty much had it with the priest class because they're not faithful to me. So I'm going to find one who is after my heart. Let's read the actual verse. I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who will do according to what is in my heart and mind. Isn't that an amazing thing? Because it's not what's in our heart and mind, it's in what's in his. I will firmly establish his priestly house, and they will minister before my anointed one always. That became Zadok. So when you read Ezekiel 48 and you see the tribal land division and you see the sons of Zadok came from the sons of Aaron. They were in there, but they were not in that direct line, from eldest to eldest to eldest, because the eldest lost his privilege because he was going after his own heart and mind and not after the heart and mind of the Creator. So when you see that tribal land division in Ezekiel 48, and you'll see portion for the sons of Zadok and an equal portion for the rest of the Levites. That's a statement of just how special those sons of Zadok are. Now, I still believe we still have that further clan from the sons of Aaron, but the Creator's going to have to probably make some comments on that, because, do they go through the Kohath, back through where their clan was, or do we have a separate subdivision for the sons of Aaron? And I don't know that. It was a very small section, and now that section has been further winnowed down because they kind of lost that privilege because they were going after their own heart. And now the other thing that still happens is we don't forget the Torah, because not one jot or tittle of the Torah is going to change. So realize that Levi is still going to be scattered, even though they have this land right beside Jerusalem. They're still going to be scattered among the tribes, because, thank goodness, because they're the priests to us. They're the ones who are actually, as I see it, the ones who will actually lead the synagogue services. So, they have all these other cities that are available to us. And when I say cities, the cities that are required for the Levites are a very special city. So let's assume that you are in Tel Aviv, and you think, okay, well, Tel Aviv's the biggest area through Judah. We need to go ahead and give a city to the Levites. I don't think it's going to be Tel Aviv. And the reason for it is because the Levites are not what I will call true city dwellers, because they have a section of land that is around the city for their flocks and herds. And, there's a specific square acreage of their land. And I don't know if I have it on here or not. I might. Excuse me, where I divided out that to figure out. I don't have it on this one. And again, it's not going to be that important for right now, but it's a specific acreage for the city, so it's a circle for the city, and then there's a acreage for their land outside the city. So they actually are going to have what I would consider, even though it's called cities, I would consider them very small towns, because it's got to be surrounded by the countryside around them. And again, that should be in each of our tribal lands. We should have a section there for the Levites. And even then it gets a little bit more complicated, because everybody wants to have a Levite around them. So you're actually trying to bring them in closer. So let's assume for a moment that I am in Asher and I'm in Beirut, which I am in Asher and I hope to be in Beirut. One of the things we would want to do is we would get this beautiful house situated and say to a Levite, come, stay here so that you can be among us, because there's a lot of people here, and that way you can minister to us, and we'll put you up in the synagogue. We'll have a synagogue for you, and that way we can go and get taught, and where the Levite is leading the things for the service, as we read the Torah portions, and but I just really think we're going to try to yank them from their towns because we want them close to us, and we see that as well when we go on our pilgrimages to Jerusalem. We are also to take the Levite who is in our midst. So, let's assume that I have this extra house that's with me with Beirut. I fix it up for the Levite and say, please come stay here. It's free of charge forever. It's your family, and I want you to have this, and so that you can be close to help lead us in service. And while he's there, and my family gets ready to go to Jerusalem, we don't just pack up my family. We pack up the Levite who's there and his family as well, because they're our responsibility to make sure that we take care of them and take them with us, so that we can go to Jerusalem. And again, I hate saying it this way, but everybody's going to be fighting for those Levites because there aren't that many, and everybody wants a Levite around them. So, very special class of people. And how many of them are trying to live in their tribal section that is around Jerusalem, and how many of them decide they're going to come and spread out among the clan or the tribes? That's for them to decide. But wisdom is more valuable than rubies, and the ones who get to lead that service are the Levites. And man, they're going to be in high demand. Who are they going to be? They are their own walking rubies. And just something to think about.